Welcome to session 11. This is part A. So, you guys have an exam on session 12. So, this is going to be a very short session. I'm going to have part A, where all I'm going to do is explain what a futures contract is. Part B, I'm going to do one homework question on that, and I think each should be only 10 or 15 minutes long. So, I'm going to give you guys lots of time to start studying for the exam during session 12. Okay, here is how a futures contract works. So, um, as of today, late September 2020, just look this up. The current September 2020 price of 100 bushels of corn equals $369. Okay, now it turns out there is a market called a futures market for corn. And the main one, some of them are in the New York Mercantile. I think for the commodities like corn are on the Chicago Mercantile. That's the main place. So it turns out, I just looked this up. The futures price of 100 bushels. Sorry, handwriting is bad. Bushels of corn delivered on September, and if you read the contract, there's a certain date. I think it's like the third Monday of the month, but whatever it is, we'll say September, sometime in September 2021. Futures price that equals $377. Okay, so what that means is that in that futures contract, in a futures contract, all it is a piece of paper. So it's a contract, and it's an agreement between two people. So suppose in one of these contracts, say Tim, me, is the seller. Say I'm the farmer. Um, Agrees to sell 100 bushels at $377. Okay, so that's what this contract worked. If I'm the farmer, so I'm the one selling, so I'm the one I'm going to be storing these 100 bushels of corn for a year. I go into a contract. Let's say there is a speculator. Um, let's call her Sally. So she's going to be the buyer. I say speculator. It could be a consumer, someone who just really wanted 100 bushels of corn for a party 1 year into the future. That could be, but let's say instead that Sally is a speculator. This is someone who's just going on her hunches to try to make money in this market. So Sally agrees to buy 100 bushels at 377. Okay, so we have this contract. It's I'm on one end, she's on the other, and so a year from now, on September 2021, I have this contract that I agree to deliver her 100 bushels of corn, and she will pay me $377 for that. So I've agreed to give 100 bushels of corn. She's agreed to pay $377. What happens if I have a bad crop? Well, the contract says I could buy at what we call the spot price. Spot price is the current price. So whatever that will be, the price of corn is going to vary a lot. That from if we go a year from now, it might be as high as $399, might be as low as $339. If it's turns out to be 389, I, the farmer, want to say, oh, darn, why did I get into this futures contract? I could have made more money. On the other hand, if the price of corn drops over the next year, say to 339, I'm going to say, oh, man, I was such a genius. At the current price, if I hadn't done this contract, I would only be able to sell the corn at 339, but now I have this contract, I can sell it at 377. I feel like a genius. So that's the way these things work. So there's a speculator, which is essentially betting. So Sally is betting that the price of corn is going to go up a lot over the next year. She thinks it's going to go up, more than $12 over the next year. That's essentially what she's doing. You could say that I'm the farmer. I'm betting that it's going to go down. Another way to look at it is I'm not quite betting. I'm not a speculator. If I'm a farmer, we'll could say I'm hedging. So here's what that means when you say that this allows me. This allows the farmer, me, Tim, to hedge. And the idea is that corn is currently at 369. Let's make this specific. So I farmer think price maybe in the future, but the price a year from now, maybe I think it may go up 10. Let's say it may go up $20. Maybe 389, maybe stay the same, 369. Now let's suppose we all think it's going to go up. Could be 377, but it could be $12 less. Could be 365. Suppose I thought each of those prices were equally likely. I'm the farmer. I could take my chances if I'm the farmer. I produce 100 bushels of corn, wait to see what the price will be. Suppose my cost equals, let's say it's 370. So it cost me $370 to make 100 bushels of corn. I can say, well, okay, if I do the futures contract, I'm going to gain a profit of $7 for certain. On the other hand, if I don't do the futures contract, I may get a price of 389, which I'll make a profit of 19. I may get a price of 377, make a profit of 7, or I could get a price of 365 a year from now, which means I would lose money. I would lose $5 off of each 100 bushels of corn. If I'm a farmer, and what I might say is that, look, I've got to feed my family. I prefer not to take that big gamble on the high profit or the loss. I would like to hedge my bets and get something safe, get a medium amount of profit, 377. And if I feel that way, I don't want to take these risks, either the upside or the downside. I might want to engage in one of these futures contracts where I agree to sell. I'm the seller in one of these. In this way, I hedge my bets. I can make sure that I can guarantee myself a $7 profit on that 100 bushels of corn. And for that reason, I might want to do it. So usually when these futures markets, there's one side, which is a speculator, which is someone who's just making a bet. Sally is, your riverboat gambler. When we say, I can make some money on this. There's usually someone on the other side who's usually willing to you're really saying, well, there's a good chance On average, I would actually do better if I took the risk. But they're saying, no, I don't want to take that risk. I want to make sure I can feed my family, and therefore I'm going to hedge. So usually on the other side, there's someone like the farmer who's hedging. Um, now, um, a somewhat controversial question. Some people will say, "Oh, these speculators are bad. They're the person. All they're doing is just trying to make money. They're not producing anything." The Sally, what she did, all she did is create this piece of paper that it was a contract between me and her. She isn't actually growing any corn. Um, the key thing though is there's lots of farmers out there that, like me, who would say, I don't want to have that risk. I don't want to have those huge swings, face those huge swings in the possible price a year from now. There could be a lot of farmers who are saying, if I have to face those huge uncertainty in the price, it's not worth being a farmer. I'm going to do something else, get a regular job where I can guarantee a certain income. I may take a loss in income, but I'm willing, I don't want to take that risk. But with a speculator, you can give the speculator to take the risk, and the farmer does not, has a safe bet. And as a consequence, there may be lots of people who would enter farming who wouldn't otherwise, because we have these speculators. They realize, oh, by using these futures markets, I can make it so that my swings in prices, swings in possible profit, is not so much. I can make it a safer job for me, and therefore I'm willing to go into farming, whereas I wouldn't otherwise without the speculators. So these speculators help create this market. They actually help facilitate more farmers going into the farming industry. Okay, so when we say this, economists would say, look, there's some good that these speculators do, even though you could say they're really not producing anything tangible. They are helping to spread the risk, and that is an actual good. Um, okay, so I've explained what a futures market is. Okay, how these creators of the futures market, people like Sally, actually do some good. The final thing, I said that in this case, the farmer was the one who wanted to hedge, the one who's selling. So a year from now, I'm going to be bringing the commodity, the 100 bushels of corn. I'm selling the 100 bushels of corn. Sometimes it can be the other way, where the one hedging is the buyer. And the best example of this would be an airline company. So often airline companies, what they worry about is the price of gasoline. So, or jet fuel, where it's all based on oil. So the problem is they don't know what the price of oil is going to be. It could go up, could go down. And they realize, well, if it goes up, we're going to have to increase our prices. If it goes down, we can decrease our prices. Um, what an airline company often what they face is, well, okay, on average, maybe the profits is going to be a moderate amount on average, but it could be high, could be low, or even a loss because of these swings in the price of oil. What they don't like is having to adjust their prices. Often that angers customers. They say, "How dare this? Why is the price of an airline ticket gone up $500 since it was a year from now?" Well, the answer is often the price of oil. But if you don't want to anger your customers and you're an airline company, what you might want to do is buy a contract. So you might buy 1,000 gallons of jet fuel at the price of 377, and then you'd hope that there's another speculator who would be saying, okay, I'm going to be willing to sell at that price a year from now. I'm willing to make a bet that I think the speculator in that case would be willing to make a bet that the price is going to be lower at the spot price a year from now. But regardless, the key is that you can have the speculator be on the other side, the one who's willing to sell. In the case, the one who wants to hedge is the one who's willing to buy. Okay. So that's the key with futures markets. And I guess one more thing I want to talk about, and I'll talk about this more in part B, is um, we often think about markets um, being in different regions of the country. So in an earlier video, I talked about the price of plywood being in the plywood in Louisiana versus plywood in, say, Washington State. In those two markets, so Washington State plywood is a substitute for Louisiana plywood. They're very good substitutes. And so what happens if the price goes up in one market? You're going to have people shipping their plywood from to the other. Okay, so if prices change, you'll see manufacturers, speculators, shippers adjusting the quantities from one region to another. Okay, the same thing can happen over time. Okay, and that's what we'll talk about in the next question. So, what happens is if we think the price, we'll get to that question. If we think the price of corn is going to be much higher a year from now, there's a way to transfer corn from now to a year from now, or vice versa. So it's the same idea as shipping corn across regions, but it's just instead it's across time. If you like, think about Einstein talked about there's four dimensions. There's north, south, east, west, up, down. There's three spatial dimensions plus a time dimension. Well, that happens with economics markets because of these futures markets. They help allow transfers of the goods across time. Okay, almost like a time machine. So I'll talk about that in part B. See you there.